Hi guys, today we're going to look at our first of our dairy production chapters. We're going to look at dairy breeds. Now in Ireland, approximately 90% of all dairy farms in Ireland is made up of the British Friesian. You can see there's a British Friesian and a Holstein Friesian. The British Friesian, which we talk about, was primarily used in Ireland. But what has happened through the use of AI, which is artificial insemination, farmers which would typically have had British Friesian herds were using the sperm and the semen from the Holstein Friesians. The reason being is they're higher yielding. We're going to have a look at all these breeds in much more detail now. So the first one we're going to look at there is our British Friesian. Now that is what we call a dual purpose breed. Yes, it's for dairy as a primary function, but it's also good for beef production as well. So it has a better shape, so better conformation. That's the word we use to describe that, than the Holstein Friesian, which is below. Now, the Holstein Friesian, why would you use it then? It has really high yield. So again, that's how many litres it's producing annually. That is much higher than any other breed. So if you were a farmer who just had a British Friesian herd, you might decide you're going to use AI from a Holstein Friesian bull. Why? You're getting obviously the dual purpose, so the beef production from the British Friesian, and then you're using from the Holstein Friesian, you're getting the litres up. So that's typically why would you would use both, and that's why that's typically what we see in Ireland, a mix between the two. Why? To demonstrate hybrid vigor, which we talk about in genetics as well. Yeah, so again, the Holstein is a bigger breed. It's a larger, kind of narrower kind of conformation to them. We say that it's kind of a wedge shaped, whereas the British Friesian is a better conformation, it's more blocky shaped. And if you would sending either to the factory, the British Friesian is going to kill out way better, so it's going to be graded way better than the Holstein. Looking then when we're comparing even the Jersey to either the Holstein Friesian or the British Friesian, you can see the Jersey there is a much narrower animal as well. It has the worst conformation of those three. But why would you bring it into the herd? It is the best for solids. And when we talk about solids, we're talking about protein and we're talking about fat. And that's what farmers are paid on. So the amount of solids in the milk, A plus C, A plus B even, minus C. C is the processing charge, A is fat, B is protein. So that determines the cent per litre. But if you think about it, the Holstein is going to get you more litres. So again, a good mix of these different breeds is going to demonstrate hybrid vigor. But again, Jerseys, they're the worst. Okay, if you have a bull Jersey calf, you're not going to make much money because they have poor conformation. They're small, they're narrow breeds. Whereas if you have a British Friesian, you're going to sell that much better. You're going to do way better in the beef industry. But again, what comes up and has come up in the last 3 exams is, it's mentioned in Jersey. Why would you introduce a Jersey into the herd? The reason being is it's high solids, the best for solids. Some of the less popular breeds then in Ireland, the Ayrshire, then again, it's hardy. We have to know the colour of its coat as well. You can see these three look quite similar, but when you actually look at it in more detail, you can see the differences. The Ayrshire has a kind of a darker reddish coat. Again, it's not as popular in Ireland, but it's a breed we need to be able to identify if we see it in the exams. The Norwegian Red, then again, it has a red and white coat. But if you look at the Norwegian Red and compare it to the Montbéliard below, yes, they have the same colour coat, but what you'll see is, if you look at the Montbéliard, it has a white face, and that's how you should be able to tell the difference between the two. Okay, the Montbéliard is a French breed as well. It can be used for a dual purpose breed, so that means it's better for beef production than, we'd say, the others, obviously aside from the British Friesian. So a dual purpose breed is dairy and beef. A Simmental is another example of that. We talked about that in the chapter. We looked at beef production. But again, it says it can be polled. That means it doesn't grow horns. That's for Norwegian Red, and that's always handy because that's another less job you have to do on the farm. And the dairy farms tend to be really busy. Just after calving, that's when you'd be hoping to dehorn the calves. Again, we have to be able to identify those. I said on previous videos that 5% of the 2023 paper was just being able to identify animals, and that goes with sheep, pigs, and obviously cattle. So it's really important we're able to identify, and that's just learning, looking at the photos and learning, sitting down and learning them. Just moving on to some key information. Again, so a calf is an animal until it's 9 months of age. When we have a castrated bull calf, we call that, then that becomes a steer, or it can also be called a bullock. A heifer is then obviously a female calf. When we're talking about weanlings, a weanling then is from 9 months to 12 months. That's when they're weaned. Typically that's coming from a suckler herd. That's from, you could say 8 months is what we learn for that, is when suckler herd gets weaned, but from 8 or 9 months to 12, we call it a weanling. After 12 months, it is then known as a yearling. If a bull calf is not castrated, it becomes a bull. And I suppose when we're talking about a bull, why they become more aggressive the older they get is because they produce more testosterone. So obviously the bullocks or steers, they don't produce as much testosterone in the body because the blood supply is cut off, so that the hormone doesn't circulate through the blood of the animal. Yeah, and they're just a different. Again, a lot of us will know that, but if you're not coming from a farm, you mightn't be familiar with those terms. Now the Easter cycle. These are some key dates that we need to know. I could have highlighted all of this box. We'll just go through it here quickly. A heifer reaches puberty ages 8 to 12 months. So just when it's weaned, a heifer will reach puberty. It's important to know that, because if you hadn't castrated, just say you wanted to rear bulls, you weren't castrating them, but you were leaving them with the heifers, maybe they were grazing together. This is really important to know, because you don't want any of those heifers coming into calf at 8 months. That would be very poor management from a farmer. You might have to inject and abort the heifer, or you don't want to be a weaning at that stage. So it's important to know that you want them, I suppose, the earliest about 15 months of age. That's when you want heifers going in calf and maybe left with a bull. Now, the Easter cycle, 21 days. So that means once the heifer hits puberty, every 21 days, unless the heifer becomes pregnant, it releases an egg. The egg is there to be fertilized. The heat period, so that's how long that egg is there to be fertilized, that's 18 to 24 hours. Okay, so that's how long, like if you notice a cow or a heifer in heat, you would basically have a day to get that cow or heifer served, either by artificial insemination or left with a bull. The duration of estrus, yeah, so 18 to 24 hours as well is what we're looking at there. The gestation is another word for pregnancy. It's 9.5 months. Okay, you have to know the months and the number of days. So that's 283 days. Again, you have to learn these terms. They could ask you in months or days. And that came up in the 2023 paper, the gestation length, and it asked in days in that question. So you have to know either or. The lactation period, so that's how long the cow is milking for, that's 305 days. And they're dried off for 60 days. So again, that's 305 days or 10 months that they're milking for. And then 60 days, they're dried off 2 months before they calf. Once they give birth to the calf, then they're lactating again. So again, that's something that we need to know in months and obviously in days as well. Now, sometimes farmers might dry them off a bit earlier, a bit later, depending on how much milk they're producing, I suppose the health of the animal, lameness, all those factors, the age of the animal, that all comes into account. But what you need to learn for the exam is the length of lactation, so how long they're producing milk for in a year, is 305 days, which is 10 months. How long are they dried off for? They're dried off for 2 months or 60 days. And to dry off a cow, what you do is you stop milking the cow. When you stop milking the cow, they become dry. They stop producing the hormone prolactin, which causes the animal to produce milk. There's also a hormone called oxytocin that we'll be talking about as well. When an animal gives birth, when the cow gives birth to the calf, it releases oxytocin, which initiates the milk letdown, which allows the animal to keep to produce milk after they calf, and then prolactin for the lactation period. And again, that's important. We'll talk more about those two hormones because that again has come up in the 2022 paper. Now, yeah, the calving interval then is the last thing there, just to mention. Again, you need to know these dates. Calving interval is 365 days, okay, or less. If, for example, you had a calving interval of 380 days, that means that that animal has gone 15 days over. So you really want on a spring calving herd, you want the cows calving down just, I suppose, from February to April. But if you keep going 15 days later and 15 days later and later every year, animals will soon be calving down maybe in June, July and August. That is what you don't want the cows calving at that time for a spring calving herd. Why? Because you want them eating grass when there's most grass is there in May. You want them eating grass and well into their lactation. That just makes the farm more profitable as well. That's the first video. We'll have a look at the second video soon.